Welcome to Storytime.
Tiny house prepper.
Live simple, live free.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill with Tiny House Prepper, Live Simple, Live Free. And I'm going to tell you about the life of an Army Bandsman. Alright guys, so as you know, I was in the Army band for 24 years. Played a trombone in the Army band. And for about 22 of those 24 years, I was the drum major for the marching band. You know what the drum major is?
Person that plays drums
Plays
very
drum.
majorly.
The drum major is the guy up front with the big stick. I was carried a mace. It was a 5-foot long mace with a big ball on one end. Yeah, and
And
so
huge white gloves.
I was the one that controlled the band as we're marching down the street. I would give commands with the mace to start them and stop them and make them turn and tell them what music to play, all that. So it's the guy in the front with the mace. And you know why they call it a mace? It's a big stick with a ball in the
Because
end.
you can smack people with it?
Exactly. Back in the Middle Ages, the band would be there, and when the army was out fighting, if the army would start to falter, the band would, usually bagpipes, would start playing music and march right out through the battlefield. And the drum major was always the biggest, baddest guy in the band, and he had a mace. And as they marched down through the battlefield, the drum major would be swinging the mace, clearing the way for the band to march through. And then that would, rally the troops who would then push through and follow the band. So the band was actually leading the attack. True story. So now, that's why I still use a mace, but it's this little plastic thing. It's got a little plastic ball. The mace they used to have had a great big ball with spikes on it and it weighed about 50 pounds. Yeah. So anyway, we were stationed in Germany. I was in the 3rd Infantry Division Band in Würzburg, Germany for 3 years from 1979 to 82. That was before you guys were born, huh?
Just a little.
Before your father was born, most of it. Anyway, so we were there for 3 years, and of course, most of the time that I was there, I was the drum major, and we did have a couple of alternate drum majors that could do it if I wasn't there. But so we were doing a change of command ceremony, because in the band we did a lot of ceremonies. We were doing a change of command ceremony, and one of the things that we did during that was what was called a pass and review. After the ceremony was over, all the troops would march past the review stand where the general was, and so the band would lead that. So we would step off playing music, and then all of the troops, the companies would march behind us as we marched past the reviewing stand. So I remember it was summer because I had short sleeves. I guess I was in my Class B, so I had bare arms, all ready for the band to step off for the pass and review. So I take the mace and I twirl it like I do, and then I hold it up like this. The next thing I was to do was to go like this. It'd be forward, march with the mace, and as I did that, the band would step off playing music. So I did my twirl and I put my arm up and I had the mace up there. Just as I was about ready to start, a pigeon flew right over top of me and pooped on my arm. And it landed right here, and it rolled down my arm, and the trombone rank, which is the first rank of the band, saw it, and all of a sudden, they started cracking up. And here we are in this official military ceremony, and I'm just about to step off, and all of a sudden, the whole band just cracks up, and we couldn't play. So I just had to stand there with my arm up and the pigeon poop dripping off of my elbow until everybody finally settled down so that I could give the step off so that they would play the music.
So because they were laughing, you couldn't put your arm down and you couldn't stop it from falling into your feet?
Well, if I put my arm down, they would step off. But they couldn't play, unless I just slowly brought it down. But the whole ceremony, everybody was standing, all the troops, all the spectators, the general, everybody was standing there waiting for the band to step off, and the band was all laughing so hard they couldn't play.
And you can't play a wind instrument when you're laughing your head
No,
off.
you can't play a trumpet or a flute when you're laughing. You just
It would have
can't
been
do it.
for me, you know, it would have been, oh.
So, another thing that happened in Germany, this was at a different ceremony, and this was in the winter, and it was an organization day for a cavalry unit. Do you know the Army still has cavalry units? But they don't ride horses anymore. They're mechanized now. They ride on,
So-
armored personnel carriers or whatever, different
Tanks.
things, tanks, whatever. I don't know. I was in a while ago, so I don't know what the Army's doing now. But anyway, it was a cavalry unit. And Organization Day is the day when they celebrate the organization or the founding of the unit. And it's usually they have a picnic, and all the family comes in, and they have all kinds of. It's almost kind of like a church picnic, but it's the Army, And part of that was to have a ceremony, and it was really touching because during the ceremony, this cav unit actually traced their lineage all the way back to the Indian Wars,
Really?
and there was a major battle with the Indians the Native Americans,
Yeah.
where there were like 50 of the troopers that were slaughtered. So during the organization day, they read the roster of all of the soldiers who had been killed during that battle, and somebody in the units there said, "I'll answer for him," every time a name was read. It was actually quite touching.
You'll answer
But-
for each of that had been
Yeah,
killed. Wow.
but the way that works is the band is over here, stage right, and then the companies, it's a battalion, and they're broken up into companies, and the companies are all in a line here. So that when we do our pass and review, we would step off straight, the companies would turn right and then turn left and follow us. Anyway, so we're standing there during the ceremony, and they're reading off the names of all the soldiers who had been killed, and somebody's saying, "I'll answer for him." It was really touching, like I said. But before the ceremony started, it had snowed the night before. This was like in February. There wasn't a whole lot of snow. There was maybe 2 inches or so, just enough to make snowballs.
Oh my gosh.
So we're all standing there waiting for the ceremony to start, and all of a sudden the company all the way down on the far end had all made snowballs. And they turned, and all at the same time they lobbed them over to the company that was right next to us, and there were about 50 snowballs just all at one time. And of course the company next to us didn't know they were coming, and they got slaughtered by snowballs. So then they all made snowballs and lobbed 50 snowballs back, The sergeant major comes running out trying to stop them. It was so funny. And he finally got them all settled down, and he turned around to go back up to the review stand, and here comes another volley of snowballs. And of course the band was once again cracking up, and we couldn't, we were supposed to be doing pre-music for the ceremony, and we couldn't play because it was just hilarious. Now, during the ceremony, the commander, as he approached the reviewing stand, he actually rode on a horse. Yes, the cavalry does have a horse, one. And he would ride up onto the, and then dismount the horse and get up onto the reviewing stand. And of course, that was just a ceremonial thing. But this was in probably 1980, and the Army was still technologically backward. They had a PA system that was like out of MASH, a couple of those green horns, one on each side, and a little box about this big, and a microphone that gave feedback, So that was the PA system that they had, so that when the commanders did their speeches, everybody could hear it. The commander came forward, got off of the horse, went up to the reviewing stand, and one of the troopers stood there beside the reviewing stand with the horse, just holding it, holding the bridle or whatever. Now, during the ceremony, I told you they read the names, which was quite touching, and "I'll answer for him, I'll answer for him." After that, they had a 21-gun salute, and they used howitzers, cannons.
Oh my gosh.
Guess what happened to the horse when the cannons went off?
Oh yeah, took off.
He freaked out. He took off running across the thing, dragging the trooper behind him who was trying to stop him. He finally got him to turn around, and he went back the other way, and the horse ran across one of the wires to where the PA system went and got tangled in the wires, and the horse ran off across the field, dragging the entire PA system behind him. And of course, not only the band, but the entire battalion was just rolling on the ground in laughter, and it's supposed to be this big, formal military ceremony. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So they had to do the rest of the ceremony without a PA system. So the commander is up there doing his speeches and all that, One thing that was really funny about in Germany was that every American unit that was there had a sister unit from the German army, and they would do things together, they would train together and that sort of thing. Our band, the 3rd Infantry Division Band, our sister unit was the 12th Panzer Band, the 12th Panzer Band. So we would actually do combined concerts with the 12th Panzer Band,
Wow.
which was really cool. Their band was about twice the size of ours, and they were fabulous. And it was so funny because they were fabulous symphonic musicians, but they couldn't do jazz.
Oh.
And so
They loved it, though.
they would try to do it, but then they would have a band twice our size, and then we would get up there with our big band and blow them away. And they were just amazed by that. But we were amazed by their symphonic sound. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
It's a whole different style, it's a whole different country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
They just don't feel the jazz the
Right.
same way, but they love it.
So there was always, the sister unit would always send one contingent to be a part of the ceremony. So we had the cavalry, battalion. Cavalry doesn't call them battalion. What is it?
Division?
Regiment, I guess. Anyway, and then one little German company on the end that was the German contingent to be there. So when the commander, they would always have the outgoing commander would come up and do a speech, and then the incoming commander would come up and do a speech. And this was an organization day. It wasn't a change of command. Sorry, scratch that. So the commander just came up and congratulated everybody for being a part of, whatever he would say at an organization day. But the American commander always says something to address the German contingent that's there. Trouble is, most of them didn't speak German. So they could read it, but they couldn't speak it. So they would write down what they wanted to say, and then somebody would translate it for them, and then they would stand up there and read German. Well, the funny thing is, most of the time they were from, like, Alabama or deep Georgia or something where they have a real
that's great.
heavy Southern accent. And so they would get up there to address the Germans. Guten Abend, meine sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Es freut mir viel heute hier zu sein. And every time they would do that, it was amazing how many times the commander had a deep Southern accent. Guten Abend, meine sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. And the band all the time cracking up just in time for our change of command, for our pass and review. So anyway, that was the organization today with the cavalry unit. I don't even remember which cavalry unit it was. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, 24 years in the Army, I had many experiences like that were just absolutely hilarious.
So I imagine.
Anyway,
That was good.
I hope you enjoyed the stories of the Army Band.
I thought when they were having the snowball fight, the band would strike up some wacky tune or something.
Yeah, or have a snowball fall in the tuba when somebody's trying to play. Oh, goodness.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as they did, as much as we did. All right, everybody. Live simple, live free, be blessed. We'll see you next time.
Toodles.
Bye.